Hi there, and welcome back to Fantasy for the Ages, the show where father and son sit down and talk about things in fantasy. I'm the son of that equation, Zach.
And I'm the father, Jim. Glad to have you here with us as we move through some more chapters of The Great Hunt. We are getting to the final push.
Yes, now I did say welcome back. That may be a bit presumptive of me, but if you haven't listened to the previous, 37 chapters of this book or the one before it, you should probably go back and check those out.
The context would be helpful. But if, there's so many podcasts to listen to in the world, if you're already familiar with the content, you just wanted to jump in and see what do these guys have to say, that's fine. This could be a perfectly good spot to start.
So if this is your first episode with us, welcome.
And you're welcome even if you've been here all along. All right. How are you doing today, Zach?
Oh, I'm doing okay.
Are you staying cool?
Trying to. It's very hot.
It's 111 degrees.
Which is normal in some places, but not so much in the Pacific Northwest.
Looks weird on my phone. It's literally 111. Is that like an emergency call number or something?
No, that's 911 in this country. But we were going to record a little separately today, potentially. And that had to get changed because my computer decided it's too hot upstairs.
This computer
so
kind of short-circuited on the recording earlier. That was funny.
The RAM just decided it's so hot, I can't process, I'm done.
We had to let his computer cool down a little.
Had to bring it downstairs, cool down, where the AC is actually processing and it's not just baking like an oven.
But we are ready now. We're ready to go.
Yes.
All is good.
And my computer is working again. It is recording this properly.
And the air conditioning is working.
Oh, thank goodness.
And downstairs here, heat rises, so downstairs is nice and comfortable.
But how are you?
I'm doing absolutely dandy.
You've been chilling in this AC.
I have. It's comfortable, and yeah, things are good. I actually got into a car accident this past week.
Well, that's a little bit of a misnomer.
Yeah, I ran over
insurance
tire.
Doesn't even say that it was an accident.
Well, kinda.
No, because that would be a different deductible.
Well, okay. Driving down the highway, and there was a huge, basically the entire tread of an 18-wheeler's tire that had blown out at some point, right in the center lane during busy traffic. We're all going 70 miles an hour down the highway. I got people on both sides behind me. The car in front of me goes right over this big tire, and it comes out, and I have like a second to realize I'm going right over it too, in a Subaru Forester. There's not a lot of clearance there, so it
not
did
a ton.
Yeah, it did some front end damage, and I got to take that into the shop tomorrow.
I'm just glad to say I'm glad you are okay.
Yeah, it could have been way worse.
And the car will be okay.
It will be okay. Yeah, first world problems.
Anyways, that's what we're doing.
What are you drinking? Oh, who said it first?
I think we jinxed it. So you owe me a drink, but you owe me telling me about your drink. But
Nice. Well, I am introducing something for our Wheel of Time episodes that I intend to continue perhaps for the rest of the series, and that is specifically Wheel of Time themed cocktails.
Or at least we're going to try, unless we run out in 1 week or get lazy and do a glass of wine. But most of the time when we make a cocktail, it will be special.
And I will be creating these now. Okay, so using what I know of various beverages to create tasty cocktails. Not this first one, though. This first one was specifically contributed by a Wheel of Time fandom person we know out there in the great wide world named Tree. That's her nickname. And she came up with this one, shared it with me, gave me permission to use it. So it's called the Asha Moretto.
I feel like you should give the correct...
Asha Moretto.
There we go, because there's an apostrophe in
there.
Right,
Asha Moretto. And if you are not a first-time reader, you understand what that's alluding to. And if you are, we can't spoil it for you. But it definitely has something to do with Wheel of Time, as well as with the beverage itself, because I've got 2 shots of whiskey, 1.5 shots of amaretto. That's it. Nicely mixed in over ice.
Does it shake the earth a little?
Rolling.
Ah.
Practically in circles.
I dig it.
Like a ring. So, that's what I'm drinking. What are you drinking?
I'm just doing a rum and coke. I'd done one a little bit earlier and went to go make another with the rest of the Coke can and then realized I only had a little bit of Coke left in the can, so I was about to be drinking rum with a little bit of Coke.
Mm-hmm.
So I decided to open a new can of Coke. So
Good call.
It's now, a real rum and Coke again.
You said jinx, and so I owe you a soda. Did I buy that soda?
but I already opened this one when I said
well,
it.
there's more right there.
There
Help
we go.
yourself at any point. All right. A little bit of extra fun to share before we get into our content. There's another opportunity if you want to go out and listen to half of us. Rob at Malkier Talks this past week on Wednesday had a live stream YouTube show. Now, Rob is the one where he has a podcast that Zach and I recently appeared on.
But he also does so much more.
Yeah, he does, and he's great. Absolutely love Rob. And we were on to talk about The Forsaken, and it's a spoiler-heavy episode with him, so first-time readers, stay away, but the rest of you may enjoy it. And now he was doing a very quick impromptu live show during the time slot that the Dusty Wheel is usually on Wednesdays. Now, that's a huge and very popular call-in live Wheel of Time talk show, and we've appeared on that before a couple of times.
Great time.
Yeah. Well, this one, he was slipping in there because they took a break for Wednesday. And it was like the first time it's happened in 7 months. 7 months ago, he did one of these. So he's going to do it again. He decided to talk about The Forsaken again, but this time on Who's the Most Evil. And so he invited me to come on. He invited both of us, but you weren't available.
I was predisposed with other obligations.
So I was there with a few other guests. About an hour and a half, we talked about Forsaken, and it was a lot of fun. So I'll drop a link for that in, and I think you'd enjoy it. Again, first-time readers, stay away, unless you just love to spoil things.
So if you're like me, go listen anyway.
Now for a correction. Or at
Yes.
least a verification of something we talked about last episode.
Okay.
I love that we've got really smart listeners who are checking what we're talking about and sometimes filling in gaps on things where our memory was a little weak or rusty. And we've got 7 subscribers on our YouTube channel, which is simply this audio podcast loaded up to YouTube.
It's just another platform you can find us at.
They stare at our logo for an hour and a half or so.
Maybe one day we'll include video, but we're not that interesting to look at.
Anyways, Scott Bishop, one of our earliest subscribers there, he always comments right there in the YouTube comment area, on things that strike him as he's listening along. And this time he noted something about the Aiel. We had commented that when they're in the Ogier steading and those 3 Maidens of the Spear had come up, that they were very disturbed to see Rand with a sword.
And I had questioned whether or not we actually knew Aiel and swords, and that was funky. I thought we had heard somewhere, but I wasn't sure where and when.
And Scott remembered, or he thought he remembered. He looked it up, but he was able to verify, way back at the end of the Eye of the World, when they're in the Green Man's garden, where the Eye of the World actually is, he, at first, seeing Rand, mistook him for an Aiel and was very surprised to see a sword. That was the first glimpse that, Aiel and swords don't go together.
So thank you for reminding us that was where we saw that. Thank you very much, Scott.
Appreciate it. Well then, that's all the pre-business I have. Shall we get into the content?
Let's go for it.
Yeah, we're covering 3 chapters today, starting with chapter 38, Practice.
Now, what could they be practicing?
Well, we get a long overdue return to the White Tower.
Woo!
So the practice is Egwene and Nynaeve practicing with the One Power.
Let's go.
They're learning to do that Aes Sedai stuff.
Please never say that again.
We pick up the story with both of them in Egwene's room in the novices' quarters. And Min is hanging out there too.
She's not doing Aes Sedai stuff, but, she's there for not Aes Sedai stuff.
She's there to hang out. We learn it's been 13 weeks since Egwene and Nynaeve first came to the tower, and through all that time, they've been training. Now, right now, this is like an off time for training, but Egwene is sitting there practicing with the power anyways.
Now, when we say off time, we mean off time of the day, not like off time of the week, right?
Right. They're not having to be in a lesson active, and they're not having to be doing chores right now.
It's their little bit of free time.
Yeah. Egwene is noting to herself that she can embrace Saidar much more easily now. So 13 weeks of training apparently has helped. She still can't grasp it perfectly every time, to embrace it. Sometimes it's still hard.
There's gaps.
But she does try to do it as often as she can. It's something she constantly wants to do. Like, she's practicing right now with 3 glowing balls, and she's making kind of like juggling without really juggling.
Juggling with her mind.
Power juggling, yes. Now, Zach,
Yes.
Egwene is not supposed to be channeling right now in her room, because as a novice, she is not authorized to practice with the one power unless she's being supervised by an accepted. I mean, or an Aes Sedai, of course, but typically it's the accepted that supervise novice practice.
Mm-hmm.
Now, Nynaeve is accepted,
Yeah, we saw that.
but she isn't actually authorized to be supervising Egwene's practice. So what does this tell us about Egwene's personality that she's doing it anyways?
1, she gets something in her mind, she's going to do it. 2, she's going to look for any loophole she can to manipulate a system into saying, well, there was nothing wrong with me doing it. Which is not a bad thing. I do want to state out here that makes it seem like I'm thinking she's a manipulative, vindictive person. No, she's just taking every opportunity she can to advance herself.
Mm-hmm. And, I also see it as she is one that, once she gets it in her mind that she wants to do something, she is going to drive on until she accomplishes her goals.
Mm-hmm. She's Two Rivers stubborn.
Yes.
But not in the way of resistant to change and stuck in her ways, but rather when she has a decision on what she wants to do moving forward, you cannot keep her from it.
Right. Discord is asking, do the chores that she has to do build character, or do they build resentment in her?
Probably a little bit of both.
Probably, yeah.
I mean, in all honesty, the whole idea of how novice training kind of seems to work in the tower always frustrates me a little bit. It feels militaristic. Break people down so you can build them back up.
Yeah.
Which is effective, but I also don't like as a method for training people in anything. It just doesn't sit well with me.
One of the things supposedly built into the Aes Sedai is that they have to respect authority. They're all going to eventually be under the authority of the Amerlin seat and other more powerful Aes Sedai that they have to answer to, and they're supposed to answer to without question. So I would guess that's some of the chores too.
Really, just keep in mind that we're saying supposedly and
supposedly and supposed to, yes.
You'll want to pay attention to that.
Mm-hmm. We learn also that Min and Egwene over these 13 weeks have become very good friends. And Egwene feels fortunate to have made 2 good friends since coming to the tower. Now, who would the other one be? Egwene has 2 really good friends now, Min and Elayne.
Egwene, Min, Elayne are all friends, and Nynaeve's a little sour a lot of the time, but she's there too.
Yeah, in fact, she's here in the novice room because even though she's accepted and she has a much nicer room, much nicer wing of the tower to spend time in,
she's not really treated like an
she
accepted.
hasn't made any friends there at all.
Everyone
she's not
hates
accepted
her.
by the accepted. But
Yeah, no, you're right.
But why?
Well,
why not? Why is
Because
she
she
not
was
accepted?
never a novice. Putting that bluntly, that's the reason. I mean, there's other things and factors as well.
Yeah, her personality may have something to do with it.
But the idea that you skipped over months or even years of
Usually years.
training and learning and scrubbing pots and pans and went straight to you're a little more supervisorial and you actually get to really learn the power and you got this privilege just given to you, and she's this country bumpkin from nowhere who comes in all entitled and just has it. It doesn't rub well with people in any way, and she's not helping that.
Yeah. Yeah, my memory says accepted do not do chores. They instead get to choose their own courses of study. And they have the chore of training novices. They teach novices, but they don't do washing pots and pans unless they're in trouble.
I believe accepted can still, do various chores, be sent to the mistress of the novices at times. It's very
It got really bad.
uncommon, but it can happen. It's not unheard of for accepted. It would be unheard of for that to, say, happen with a full sister.
But you can get where the resentment would be there with the other accepted, that she didn't have to go through all those times of doing the pointless chores. How come we didn't have a chance to skip that kind of thing? And there's no way for Nynaeve to get out of that. Now, she might be able to gloss it over if she had a sweet disposition.
But she doesn't.
Yeah, that's not gonna happen.
She talks loudly and carries a big stick.
Thumping. As they are hanging out,
Yes.
Min and Egwene are chit-chatting.
Pick a little, tug a little, pick a little, tug a little, chip, 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 tug a lot, pick a little more.
What's that from? Good night, ladies.
Yeah, I
Good
could tell you,
night,
but the more
ladies.
songs you just throw out, I'm not going to necessarily...
Well, it's the same song.
Yeah, but
I'm not sure. I think Hello Dolly is in my head.
maybe a don't remember if you're right.
We'll have to look that up. Somebody will be yelling at the
Wow.
device right now going, "You doofuses, it's from..."
Wow.
Don't know it. It's a big Broadway musical from many years ago.
Many years ago.
All right, so as this chit-chat's going on, Nynaeve is not part of it. She's just pacing back and forth. She's apparently rather irritated. The other two are kind of used to that, so they're just going on with their own conversation.
Mm-hmm.
We learn a few things in this conversation. Someone named Else has been goggling...
Someone else?
Goggling at Galad, or Galad. Both ways are said. As he works out with the warders. Now, who do we know with that name, Zach?
Else or Galad?
Else.
Well, we know of Else Drinwell, who
Yes.
was mentioned earlier in the book, this book, but we also met earlier in the previous book. There was a farm. Matt and Rand stopped. They did some work. They did some fun things, and then Else was like the eldest daughter and giving Rand the eyes.
Yeah.
And
Well, Rand and Matt. She was interested in watching
between
them
a whole number
doing
of
those
things,
chores.
they ended up getting kicked out of the property and not staying the multiple days that the farmer wanted because the farmer's wife was like, no.
Anyway, so apparently she's come to the tower and is still goggling at guys.
Yeah, she hasn't changed a bit, apparently.
Everyone, Egwene, Min, even full Aes Sedai, though, they can't help doing the same. Galad is so apparently good looking, it's inhuman practically. Everyone is checking him out. It's irresistible.
Well, I think one of the crazy descriptors is that he's pretty. He's not like the epitome of a man's manly charm and looking, but rather he is a beautiful man.
Yeah, it's hard to be beautiful.
I'm sorry, but you're not going to be pulling off very many Galad cosplays anytime soon.
No, definitely not. Maybe the innkeeper from the Queen's Blessing. I could pull that guy off. Totally. Min's talent reveals something about Galad. That he's too good. Not the good-looking part, his character. For example, he'd hurt a person because it would serve the greater good. He probably wouldn't even notice he's actually hurting the person. But if he did, he'd expect that person to just understand.
Granted, we already kind of knew that because that's why Elayne doesn't like him.
But this is next level. Min's reading her talent actually confirms it.
It's not just someone's impression, but there's something that will enforce that.
The last bit from this little chit-chat is that it comes out Galad is still interested in Egwene.
She's
So all
interesting.
these women goggling at him, and he's got eyes for Egwene.
Well, he's interested. We'll see where that goes.
Elayne doesn't care so much for that. That'll come up later. In fact, that'll have an opportunity to come up real quick, because at that moment, the door, bam, bangs open. Like it got caught on the wind as Elayne enters the room. And Egwene gives a little yelp. Why would she give a little yelp when suddenly the door, bam, swings open?
Well, because she's doing something she got told she wasn't supposed to do.
That's right.
And she doesn't know it's Elayne
knows.
charging
She
in.
knows this is wrong. Yeah, she was afraid she got busted. Now,
But Elayne comes in, and she's got news.
she does. What does she know?
It's all news from outside the tower we're going to catch here. King Galdrian in Cairhien is dead.
Yep.
There's a civil war starting in Cairhien, and it's going to be a mess.
Absolutely.
And
Min, though, she's like, so what?
Yeah, she's kind of like, this happens everywhere.
All the time.
It's a mess.
And she mentions, for example, here's places it's happening. There's a mess, war, and stuff right now. And this is one of our foreshadowing alerts, because this list that she ticks off is significant.
There's war in Cairhien.
There's war on Toman Head.
They caught a false dragon in Saldea.
There's war in Tyr.
And Arthur Hawkwing seems to be marching on Tanchico.
You mean that guy who's been dead for like 1,000 years?
Oh, maybe his people? Who knows?
Something. Shifting subjects, Elayne shares she saw Logain again, out in the inner court crying. Why would he be crying, Zach?
The guy got gentled.
It's rough.
Poor guy.
Yeah.
Don't get gentled. Don't get stilled. It sucks.
And that's what Egwene is thinking. particularly with her thoughts going to Rand, because if the White Tower gets their hands on him, that's likely what will happen. He will also be gentled. He will be broken like Logain, and she does not want to see that happen to Rand.
Nah. But now that her thoughts are on Rand, she keeps spiraling on what she's thinking.
Yeah, some months ago, she had some dreams that Rand was in danger, and then just after coming to the White Tower, they kind of went away. She hasn't had any significant dreams of Rand. It's been, months, maybe, let's see, 13 weeks, so it's been like
2.5
at least 2 months of time since they've stopped, okay? It's almost like he's just not there anymore. It doesn't exist. Why might that be? That just poof, he's suddenly gone from her dreams as if he's not even there anymore.
Well, if you follow the timeline a little bit of what's going on in this book and what we just saw in the previous chapter, there is a chunk of time that seems to just be gone for Rand and company as they flicker across the nation.
That's right. There's a
nations.
perfect correlation here.
And so this time that he seems to just be gone, she's not having dreams about him anymore. Well, he is gone.
Yep. Time is very different for him right now. So there you get kind of a time sink in what's happening here. This is clearly what we're hearing right now is not just after what we'd seen with Rand and group. It's you're seeing where it fits in to the middle of things. Elayne, she misinterprets Egwene, because Egwene, as she's thinking on these things, she gets a very moody looking face. She's some people get scrunch face when they focus and concentrate too hard. So she can read it on Egwene's face. She's not totally present and she's thinking about something.
Her thoughts are somewhere else.
Elayne translates it as she's thinking about Galad. Makes clear she still has nothing but disdain for her half-brother. And then we learn what's got Nynaeve's goat.
Because she's been upset this whole time, but she's been being kind of ignored.
Yes. The issue with Nynaeve is that another accepted insulted her.
And so Nynaeve did what Nynaeve does, and, well, she hit her.
Whack. And again, she's making no friends. I'm sure this didn't help.
Let's be clear here. The other accepted probably deserved it.
Probably.
But you don't do that in the tower.
And Nynaeve might have had it coming, too. I mean, she's got a bit of arrogance that she wears like a cloak.
They had it coming.
They had it coming.
They only have themselves to blame.
Okay, which one's that one from?
Chicago.
Yeah, we knew that one.
that one was in my brain real fast and easy. Anyways.
So, having struck someone, Nynaeve got sent to Sherium. She got sent to the novices Sherium study, the place where the novices usually get sent. But
so Sherium probably took off a slipper and went to town.
Yep. She got disciplined. And Nynaeve is not in a good mood. Partly because it's not fair. Partly because she knew she deserved it. And she's ticked.
But if you notice, Nynaeve's kind of pacing and stuff. She's not sitting down.
So you translate that as she's perhaps a little sore?
I think she's butthurt. Elayne basically came in and went, "What's wrong with Nynaeve?" Min
is the one spilling all of this.
Yeah.
Okay. And Nynaeve is still just pacing in the background and all, but when Min shared this information about why Nynaeve's in such an issue, such a stir and all, she apparently spoke a little too loud because Nynaeve heard everything, and she doesn't appreciate being talked about now. And even...
she reacts.
Yeah. And the reaction is that a burst of wind blows open the door again, knocks over Min's stool, which includes plopping Min on the floor.
Yeah.
Nothing else gets touched or blown by the wind. So it clearly is a very targeted, power-wrought wind.
And then the wind is gone.
And Nynaeve, well, she just did that, but she didn't mean to do that.
She reacted. She didn't actually intentionally do it. So she feels bad.
That was her anger striking out.
I'm sorry.
Right. She's apologizing. This was her temper, and she lost control, and she is so sorry, and please, Min, please forgive me, and I will completely understand if you want to send me to Sherium, basically saying, send me back where I was.
And Min's more or less like, nah, it's good. I I shouldn't have said it.
Yeah, I have a big mouth. I was yapping too much about this. I know you're sensitive about this. I shouldn't have said anything. They forgive each other. Of course, Min says, and if you do something like that again, I will stick you with a little knife or something. I mean, don't do it again. Right. Don't do that. But, okay, so they've forgiven each other.
Yep.
However, Nynaeve is still in a bit of a fit. So, at this point, she looks over and sees Egwene and Elayne now both practicing with the one power. They're both doing the juggling power balls. And she's like, cut it out! Or, you'll be the one sent to Sheriam's study. It's like, okay, a little touchy, gotcha.
And so they talk a little bit about the power in general and things that they've been doing. See, Egwene and Elayne, they feel like they need to just keep practicing and practicing and practicing. They are keeping up with each other, trying to get further and further ahead with the power. It just feels so wonderful to use. But see, this is the problem.
Mm-hmm.
Using it is dangerous.
Seductive.
You pull in too much, you burn yourself out. You may even kill yourself doing it.
You want to keep pulling more and more, but yeah, you go too far, you could even die. You're right.
It's this great adrenaline rush as you're simultaneously excited and terrified to use it.
All three of them love to use it, though. I mean, they don't want to stop.
Nope.
But, yeah, there's some definite danger involved. Another thing we hear from this dialogue they're chatting about is that Elaine's room in the novice quarters happens to be the one right next to Egwene. And there is a small hole bored in the wall between them.
Mm-hmm.
And they didn't do it, but somebody clearly, I mean, these have been novices' quarters for hundreds and hundreds, maybe thousands of years. Someone in the past bored this hole so that they could talk to each other when it's lights out,
But it's like a small little hole in my brain through like a foot of rock.
Yeah, yeah.
It's not like someone went in there and with a spoon. No,
Nope.
This was power.
Maybe. That would be a possibility. That makes sense to me.
To bore a hole through the little bit of
Although
stone
women
there.
are not usually good with earth, which is what that would be.
No, it wouldn't. Not necessarily.
Stone, rock, kind of earth.
And you cut through it with a blade of wind.
It takes a long time.
No, it's not straight wind. I mean,
I don't think we need to spend a lot of time
Swan
talking
made the whole
about how.
discussion about why would I use a knife when I can make one out of the air.
To cut flesh.
Literally
sure.
a knife. You
But
can
not
make it,
to go
no,
through-
You can make that as dense or as non as you need.
I think it might be easier to get an awl and go like you were doing before.
I don't
and
think
get through it. Anyways, with that it's helped them be closer because they can talk more, but they've also been able to hear each other at night when it's been so hard over these weeks training that sometimes they're crying themselves to sleep. They're just exhausted. So they've bonded through this. They are very, very tight now. Pondering their futures at this point, Elayne turns to Min and she asks for a reading. Read us. Use your talent. What will our futures be?
This is like turning to your astrology friend and being like, hey, I'm a Virgo. Can you tell me about what my life's going to be like? Except it has a little bit more bearing,
Yeah,
but it's
except
also still really...
What Min does is real.
It's really imposing and rude to just be like, hey, read me. It's turning your friend
she wants
into
to-
a commodity.
She wants to know, though, will we become all powerful? Or is our lot in life to wash dishes as novices the rest of our lives? There are people who don't advance past novice.
But I think Min feels a little bit like I do because she's clearly uncomfortable. She doesn't like reading her friends because
she doesn't.
she wants to tell people good things when they're her
That's
friends.
right. The
and stuff.
friendship gets in the way.
But that's not what she sees. She sees something and she often won't necessarily actually know what it means. But even when she does, it isn't necessarily good.
But at this point, she does go ahead and do a quick reading. She looks at them and then, oh, well, that's new.
Yeah, it's a lot of the same thing she's been seeing, but at least one new thing.
And she shares the new thing is that all three of them are in some sort of danger, or they will be in some sort of danger very soon.
Ba, ba, ba.
Doesn't know anything more than that, just, Then the conversation shifts back to less meaningful things, more chit-chat, and then another person comes bashing through the door into the room.
And this one, it's probably a good thing that they were not currently practicing the power.
Because it's our favorite Red Aja Aes Sedai,
Yeah, right.
Liandrin.
I can think of at least one that is much more my favorite, but we can't talk about
From
that
the
one
Red-
for like 14 books.
So far. What do we remember about Liandrin? so far.
She's a jerk.
You got any evidence for us, Zach? Anything that we've seen her do?
Well, Moraine doesn't like her.
And she doesn't like Moraine.
And Liandrin is very manipulative. Mm-hmm. We saw her with the Lady Amelisa.
Oh, yeah.
And that whole mess.
Mm-hmm.
Hunting down the boys, kind of. She definitely wrapped up Rand with kind of a chokehold of air in the dungeons. Was all set to go on torturing him.
Yep. Now, if you remember, on the way back from Faldara, Moraine went missing.
Mm-hmm.
Varen went missing.
And then Liandrin went off as well.
Right. So Liandrin's been gone, and now just suddenly she's back. And she's all charm and honey as usual in the room. No, totally not. She's got her bitterness and brusque nature and questions, why is Nynaeve here with the novices? Accepted or above that? You shouldn't be here.
Accepted are allowed to go basically wherever they want. So.
Which is true. Yeah. But since she's actually here to talk to Egwene and Nynaeve, she's like, well, fine, though. I want to talk to you anyways. But curtly dismisses Min and Elayne. She has no need for them, no time for them. Out. Hit the road. I can't call them Jack. They're not.
No, neither of them are Jacks.
Right. Once alone, Liandrin reveals that she has learned that Rand, Mat, and Perrin are in some danger.
Oh, no.
And that the girls here may be able to help.
Okay.
She asks if they will be willing to do so, and of course the girls are, but they want details. And they question why Liandrin even cares, noting
That's a good point.
Yeah, I mean, you've never seemed supportive of Moraine or the boys before. Liandrin's response is classic Aes Sedai. It's full of meaning, and it does mean more than a first-time reader may realize, so I thought it was worth repeating verbatim. Again, because of our spoiler-light format, we will not say just what is so significant here, but you really need to pay attention closely to these words. So she says, the danger comes from Shaiol Ghul. They are hunted, as I understand they once before were. If you will come with me, some dangers at least may be eliminated. Do not ask how, for I cannot tell you, but I tell you flatly it is so.
You know, the word may is like an Aes Sedai's best friend.
Indeed.
Because it doesn't have to be true in any way, shape, or form. It just needs to be possible. And they could say may and get away with saying anything they want. Maybe people are going to come at me and be like, no, by the technical definition of may, that doesn't quite mean that. And they do still have to believe things here and there with the oaths. But I'm sorry, when you say may, you're not telling me anything. It's like what they say in A Song of Ice and Fire, Game of Thrones, anything that someone says before the word but is utter bullshit.
Well, in response to what Liandrin presses here, the girls do commit to go with her. But where? Where are we going?
Good question. Toman Head.
Egwene is shocked because she's heard, those rumors that Elayne repeated just a little bit ago. There's war in Toman Head.
Possibly even Arthur Hawkwing's army's return.
So we're going there? And Liandrin, she chides Egwene for listening to and believing baseless rumors.
Child.
She even says, but even if they were true, is that enough to stop you? I thought you called these men friends. Low. What a low blow.
Yeah.
So, of course.
If there's one thing Two Rivers people do stick with, it's their loyalty. They care about their people.
Yep, so they're going to come. Nynaeve, though, she's still got questions. This does not make sense to her.
That's because it doesn't make sense.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't. If help is needed, why would she be coming to an accepted and a novice rather than to other Aes Sedai? Nynaeve is making the most sense she's made so far in this series.
Yeah, this is literally the thing that, duh? And it's not like, oh, you're the ones who are convenient. No, you're in the White Tower, and you're coming to these two.
But Liandrin has no patience for questioning. She's brusque with them. She accedes that, due to them being from the same village as the boys, they're connected in some way. That's why they're needed. But I will talk no more about it. So she instructs them to meet her at the edge of the Ogier Grove in Tarvalon, 1 hour before sunset, with horses and whatever is needed for the journey.
Oh, and don't tell anybody.
No one.
because the Black Aja walks in the White Tower.
Yeah, we know she likes to drop Black Aja.
Yeah, she did it with Emelisa.
Yep. This statement shocks Egwene and Nynaeve, as, again, Aes Sedai generally deny that the Black Aja even exists.
Black Aja? What Black Aja?
But Liandrin says Tarman Gaidan is coming, and the time is approaching when such a denial will no longer be able to be made.
You say that with an on?
And not usually. It just came out weird. Tarman Gaidan. That's how I usually say it.
Yeah, that's what I thought. And I was like,
just...
it's clearly written as Dawn, but no one says it Dawn.
Anyways, she doubles down. Tell no one. No one. Or you may not live to reach Toman Head.
Okay, what is it with Aes Sedai and always threatening people?
And using the word may.
Like, I'm
you
sure,
may not live.
I'm sure that the implied meaning is if you tell someone Black Aja might find out and they'll kill you. But it just feels like a threat.
Moraine used to do that too.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's a thing.
The Aes Sedai just like threaten
Maybe that's
everyone.
an accepted 300 level course. They learned to do that.
But Nynaeve learned how to do it before she knew how to use the power. She was
She's
doing
a
it with
natural.
her stick.
Anyways, Liandrin leaves at that point. Nynaeve and Egwene, they're just all flustered now. Liandrin has read Aja. Does she know Rand is a channeler? I mean, they're thinking she can't, can she? If she wants us to go to help him, I mean, she wouldn't be trying to help him if she knew. and then how can she be willing to try to support anything that Moraine is trying to accomplish?
They can't stand each other.
And then all this talk of the Black Aja. Ugh. They really feel like they need to talk to someone else about this, but Liandrin forbade that.
That's okay. Elayne and Min were listening.
Right through that peephole. Yep. They come walking in and want to talk all about this now.
We're coming too.
Exactly. That's where they're driving.
It's like Merry and Pippin.
Totally.
Just jumping in and being like, hey, we'll come too. And it's like, you weren't invited to the council meeting.
But that's it. They were listening. They're in. Egwene and Nynaeve were like, no, I mean, you got it. This is a secret. And even after we're gone, you can't talk about it. And they're totally like, don't worry. We won't have any temptation to talk about it since we'll be with you.
Yeah.
Min, she notes she's tired of sticking around here and having all these brown Aja poking her, wanting to know more about her talent. Or the Merlin seat going, yo, Min girl, come here. I need someone else read. Constantly.
And let's be real. She doesn't really have any reason to be in the tower. She just doesn't really have an excuse to leave yet either. She got summoned, but it was never really clear what
she's
for.
saying. This
and
finally gives me a
really
reason to leave.
that. Yeah.
But Egwene's left wondering, come on, really? You could have left anytime you wanted. Why is it that now you're going to leave with us?
Egwene, why is it so bad that Min maybe just like has friends that she wants to stay with? Is it such a bad thing that you don't want to go back into the big scary world all alone? Sure, she's capable, but she likes you. Don't question that she's your friend. Is that why?
Relationship advice from Zach.
I feel bad that like Egwene is wondering, why is Min coming? I'm like, didn't you guys get close in the past 3 months?
Yeah, you'd think. But the bigger issue really is not Min. It's that Elayne wants to go. Elayne is the freaking daughter heir of Andor.
Yeah, you don't just like run away on a mission.
Nynaeve says, if you disappear, it could set off a war between the Tower and Andor over what happened to you. And Elaine's like, no, that'd never happen. And instead gives reasons why she is coming. One, she's not about to stay and keep doing chores while they get to go off having an adventure. And with Egwene letting Rand go, romantically, Elayne may just be able to scoop him up. And finally, as to danger, she heard about the Black Aja in the tower. It's not like if she stayed here, she'd be safe.
In fact, coming with might be much safer. There's at least fewer around, and like we're all together. We can watch out for each other.
That's right. So I'm coming with. Nynaeve tries a last attempt. She's going to get Min to talk Elayne out of this.
Yeah, it's like one person's talking and you turn to the other and go, can you talk some sense into this person?
And instead, Min's like, no, my readings actually say she's tied to all this. She's supposed to come.
In fact, that danger that I was seeing, it's even clearer now than it was before that conversation. And it's all tied in some way here.
So it is right for her to be with us. Great. Okay, she's coming. The chapter ends with something else I want to ask you about, Zach.
Aye.
Egwene is wondering what this danger Min is seeing for them could be, but more so she worries about what danger is threatening Rand. What is this thing Liandrin is talking about, this danger he's in? She can only think of one danger that could threaten him, and it made her cold to think of it. What do you think she's thinking of?
Well, it's a little hard for me because I go, Egwene, you got to be able to think of more than one, right? One, you know that he went off in search of the Horn of Valir and the dagger, chasing after Trollocs and Fane. You know there's something dangerous. Second, you know he can channel and you think he might go mad and that could be the big danger, and I think that's what this is alluding to. But third, you know that, like, Forsaken are a thing and already been a problem and been in the boys' dreams, and you've even seen in dreams people standing over Rand in very threatening manners. All of these could make you cold to think of, but you've got more than one thing to worry about him for. You should be worrying about yourself.
Well said. I have nothing more to add to that. And that's where chapter 38 ends.
I try to be elaborative, but not spoilery.
Very good.
Try.
All right, so we continue with chapter 39, Flight from the White Tower. And no, this has nothing to do with flying.
Fly, fools!
That's right. Gandalf's famous line in Fellowship of the Ring, that's the kind of flying. It's get away. Get away from the tower.
Run, run, run.
So, as the action begins, our four ladies are trying to get to the stable, the tower stable, unnoticed. Remember, Liandrin has given Nynaeve and Egwene permission to leave the tower, but that didn't include Elayne and Min.
And even that permission that she gave was do it secretly and don't tell people.
That's right. The way they're going to do this, well, the three of them have dressed in fine travel clothes, except Min. Min is still in her breeches. Breeches
are a kind of pants, but you can say breeches as well. Both
it just got all gobbled in my brain there for a minute.
Technically two different things. Breeches, I believe, is a older style of pants, whereas breeches, I want to say, technically alludes to underwear.
Anyways, she's wearing pants. She's still dressed in relatively men clothes, and she's carrying all their saddlebags. So she's basically in camouflage as a servant, following the three of them. And they're trying to blend in as if they're one of the many petitioners at the White Tower come to talk to Aes Sedai, and there are quite a few of them around today.
They're blending in by standing out.
Min, she blends in by just being the servant. No one pays attention to servants. And they're hoping simply that they don't run into someone who specifically knows them, recognizes them, and says, "What are you doing?"
That'd be a problem.
So it's a little tense. They're moving through the halls. They do see a few Aes Sedai and Accepted that definitely know them. But the way they're dressed and the way they're acting, just walking along, they don't even get a second look. Because, you're just one of the petitioners. It works, okay?
I mean, let's be real. Nobody would ever try and do something like what they're doing.
No, exactly. So
it's genius
the
and
audacity.
Yet dumb on so many levels that just kind of works.
Yep. They finally reach the destination they were headed for, the stables, and Nynaeve, she walks in like she owns the place and tries to bully the stable hand into providing their horses for them. Nynaeve? Bullying? How typical.
Yeah, no, it's pretty normal.
Now, she notices, though, that Nynaeve and Egwene's horses, they're right there in the front two stalls.
Yep, they're already ready for them.
But the other two are somewhere else. And she tells the stable hand to get their horses, too, and flashes her serpent ring, hoping he'll be confused, maybe impressed, think she's a full Aes Sedai, and just hop to. Yeah, that's not how it works out, because he actually had been prepped by Liandrin to have those two horses ready.
Specifically ready.
But she has to use her forceful presence to get the other two, and she name drops Liandrin a number of times.
You wouldn't want to disappoint Liandrin.
You wouldn't want Liandrin to hear about this. And, okay, fine. He gets the other two ready. So all four ready. They mount. They go riding out. And as they do, Elayne tosses him a coin and says, "For your trouble, good man." And shares with Egwene that her mother taught her a stick and honey work better than just a stick. That's not bad wisdom.
That being said, either way, use the stick.
Yeah, it's true. The stick was there. Now they ride to the gate out of the tower, and they're hoping Liandrin smoothed the path there too, maybe? So it's, no hassle getting through, but pointless worry.
Yeah, the guards are concerned about keeping people in, not out. So when they head on outwards,
Just waves them through.
Just go through.
Off you go.
Or at least the guards are not currently looking to keep any specific people in.
That will change at a point in the future.
Perhaps.
Yeah. Hint, hint. What follows then is a brief but nerve-wracking ride through the city over to the Ogier Grove. What's causing their anxiety is that they might still run into Aes Sedai out here in the city who recognize them and say, "What are you doing out here?"
But luck is
Fortune
on their
with them,
side.
Yeah. And they get to the grove with no issues. Here we get a brief description again of great trees.
And this is my confirmation that, yeah, we do have great trees in the groves, at least.
And this grove, it's pretty massive. There's described as 2 miles of wall around the grove. They cross through a gate into the grove, and quickly wandering in. I mean, if it's surrounded by 2 miles of wall, there's quite a bit of trees here.
It's a really big, great city park.
Yeah, very good. And so moving in, the hustle and bustle of the city just fades into the distance. Partly because of the trees and partly because of the wall.
Walls are great at noise cancellation. You ever seen along highways?
Yeah,
There's
they're
big
all
cement walls
walled.
that make?
Exactly. There's a reason for
great.
that. They were told where in the grove to go to, so they head to that point, and once there, ta-da, there's Liandrin with 2 horses. One she clearly plans to ride, and a pack horse laden with supplies. And she is furious to see 4 of them, not 2 of them.
She said, don't tell anybody.
And Elayne breaks in, tries to stop the tirade, saying they didn't say anything.
We just overheard. It's your fault, Liandrin.
And we want to help Randall Thor too. And the other boys, of course. I thought that was a nice slip.
Now, I would like to just point out, we've seen I said I can ward their conversations. So this is Liandrin's fault that they heard. Like, she could have taken that precaution and just didn't.
Probably a sign of her typical Aes Sedai arrogance.
Just assumed she
I
didn't
gave
need
an
to.
order and they left.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But, as you're saying, Elaine's coming in. Want to help Rand. Well, and the others.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Her preference, her favoritism for Rand is shining through.
She's upfront about that, but just doesn't want to seem that way.
After some moments, Liandrin responds, "Fine, you can come."
Yay.
She says she had already made plans for the 2 others to be taken care of. But now they might as well come along. Elayne questions what being taken care of involved, and one of her earlier concerns is highlighted. As known friends of Egwene and Nynaeve, Liandrin says, "Do you believe the Black Aja would be gentle with you? Had you remained in the White Tower, you might not have lived the night." Any thoughts there, Zach?
So since I know what we're covering in this episode, it's not a spoiler to be saying this.
Yeah, I think you can just
If
out say it.
Liandrin's not lying here throughout any of this, and theoretically here we believe she can't, she said she had plans to take care of them and then said if they stayed, they'd be dead. She never said that those 2 were separate.
Right. It's like we can kind of spoil because we're covering this.
We're going to cover it in this episode.
Guys.
Guys, Liandrin's evil.
Yeah, this is not good.
It's a trap.
So, they showed up. It's a trap. They showed up here, and that messed up Liandrin's plans because they would have been taken care of. All right, then. So where is this going? What's going on?
Sorry, wrong tube.
Zach's rum and coke is not feeling good in the esophagus.
No,
trachea.
the esophagus is where I
In
want
the
it to go.
trachea. In the trachea. It's not feeling good in the trachea.
My
At
dad
the
needs
top
to
of
take
the
his
trachea.
anatomy, but we're good.
So, now they follow Liandrin further into the Ogier Grove, and it surprises the girls. They reach a waygate. Oh.
2 of them have been through one.
Yep. And Liandrin reveals this is our path. We are going through the ways to Toman Head. And the 2 that have been through it before are concerned, but the 2 that haven't are freaking out. They're shocked. What? Yeah, the ways?
Leandrin's like, I mean, you guys could always stay.
Yep, gives Elayne and Min one last chance. Of course, again, she had just a moment ago said Black Aja would have killed you. So now she's saying,
they might
the
find
Black
you
Aja
first.
might find you, but you could stay.
Might, all these words.
So all the girls, they're coming back. They're going with. They're not backing down. And they all enter the ways together.
And they don't have the problem of Masha and Shin being right there to meet them.
Nope. But they do find the way that the two of them remember it before. Complete
Happy
darkness.
little islands? No.
They've got lanterns on poles, and that's the only light they have, but that light doesn't seem to spread out as far as it should. Yucky. They follow Liandrin to the first island, where she consults the guiding, that guidepost, and pulls out a piece of paper she's got with her and checks it, checks the guidepost, checks the paper again, puts the paper away. She uses whatever's on there to figure out her direction. And they follow Liandrin. And this kind of goes on and on and on. They get to other islands at the guidepost. Liandrin consults the paper, then chooses a direction. Eventually, they stop for supper and to sleep.
Not that they can tell it's a different time of day.
Just Liandrin says, this is where we'll stop for now. She says, it's going to take us the better part of 2 days to get to Toman Head. So here's my pack horse. Go ahead, get the food off and make us some dinner and divvy it out. And then just sits down. So
Well, she's not
clearly
doing any of the
expects
work.
them to serve her, which they do. After some time, Egwene asks Liandrin about what do they do if they encounter the Black Wind while here.
Can't kill it. Can't really hurt it.
That's right. They learned that from Moraine. And Egwene says, I can sense the taint on the ways. Even without reaching out to the one power, what might happen if we did use the power?
And Leandra's just going, nah, stop.
Yeah.
Shut that down. Don't even think about touching the source.
Not even. You would only touch it if I gave you direction, but I am not going to give you direction to do it here. If the Mach and Shin comes along, I will deal with it. If you try to do something here in the ways with the power, you could go mad. So, nope, stay away.
And then we get a beautiful little moment where we see whatever this is, Liandrin has not changed in her thoughts and feelings and opinions about Moraine.
Nope. Makes a snide comment. Moraine doesn't know as much as she thinks she does.
And to Leandrin's credit, she's kind of right. Not necessarily about what she's talking about, but she's kind of right.
Indeed. Liandrin clearly doesn't want to continue talking with them, so the girls, they draw closer amongst themselves in conversation. Min seeks answers from the other girls about this Black Wind thing. What is that? And after getting the rundown, her comment is, the pattern has a great deal to answer for. I don't know that any man is worth this.
And Gwen's like, Min, you didn't have to come. And she said, no, yeah, I did.
Just like you guys are all tied to this, so am I. The pattern would have sucked me back in if I tried to get out. And then Min has a very enjoyable line. The pattern doesn't much care what we want. Egwene, what if, after all you were going through for him, Rand doesn't marry you? What if he marries some woman you've never seen before? Or Elayne? Or me? What then?
Well, this pretty much immediately goes into Egwene going, well, I don't want Rand. We're good. We're leaving that one behind.
They'd already made that decision in a conversation way back at the end of the Eye of the World.
Most specifically, I can't ever marry him. I can't.
And I don't think he will ever marry. So, and then she says, but, if he does marry, I wish well to whoever ends up with him, even one of you. And she's not sure how she feels about having said that, actually, but she's rolling with it. Yes.
Elayne notes that her mother, the Queen of Andor, would probably not really approve of her being interested in Rand.
Because he's just a commoner. Besides, Egwene will probably change her mind. Once she's an Aes Sedai, she already, Elayne figures Egwene's going to pick Green. Green Aja, they go ahead and have warders.
So if she gets Rand as her warder, she could even marry him still. It's still changed. I mean, that happens.
Yep. So, we'll just see how this plays out. Now, through all of this, Min, she doesn't participate in the conversation. She just watches. And she's frowning.
I like to think it's a Min watches, frowns. Nynaeve watches Min and frowns.
No, not frowns. She's thoughtful.
Okay, how many people have you looked at their thoughtful face and gone,
I'm doing them right now.
it's a yeah, you're frowning at me right now.
This is a frown.
Let me look at you. Look at my face. It's a frown. There's a reason why I get lost in
This is
thought.
the kind of gripping podcast content you come for, as we frown at each other and you only hear the sound effects.
There's a reason that when I'm in thought, Or when Rach is reading, even, and she's like thinking intensely on it, people go, "Are you okay?" Yes, we're okay. We're just thinking. But it's a frown.
All right, past the frowning, eventually they do turn in, and the night goes by, and they continue then on through the next day.
I want to see you smile and think.
It's a long, hard day. No rest for the weary. Liandrin does not let them stop until it's time to sleep again. Liandrin this time, however, only lets them get a few hours of rest and then wakes them up and says, "Time to go. Let's go."
They just do a short rest this time.
Yeah, exactly. But enough to recharge. Still consulting that parchment that she was checking at each guiding, Nynaeve, she finally, I want to know what that thing is. So she asks about the parchment and gets a curt, "It is nothing you would understand." And again, Liandrin puts it away. She will not show them what she's looking at. Do you have any thoughts on that parchment, Zach?
I do.
Come on, we've already spoiled that she's a bad guy here.
I mean,
so.
it's logical that in some way, shape, or form, it's a way for her to be able to understand things that are on the guidings and read her way through, basically. It's kind of like a English to something else dictionary kind of thing, right?
Okay.
Now, you would think
it's not
that
out of
would
the
be
White
made
Tower,
initially, but I'm sitting here going, we also saw that a lot of the Trollocs have put on the guidings their script and their reading for it. We are going to learn that Liandrin's not great. I think it's likely it's more of like a Trolloc to English dictionary.
Maybe.
And she's reading that part of the guidings.
Interesting. Finally, they do arrive at another waygate. And Liandrin smiles. She says, "I've brought you at last to where you must go." Again,
Well,
a good
that's
Aes Sedai
cryptic.
answer. End of chapter. Chapter 40.
A chapter that my dad is going to hate pronouncing.
Domain!
No.
No, Damane. It continues right from the same point.
Through the waygate, we're out, we're going, we're good.
Egwene and her friends, they come to realize there's other people already here. Like they were waiting for us.
It looks a bit weird.
They do.
I mean, the people themselves don't look necessarily that weird, but the way that they're garbed, the way that they stand and their stature, it's very strange.
Now, the point of view here is Egwene's, but we have perspective because we've seen things about who she's seeing already. So
from a couple of different people.
we're going to make this a little broader, and not just what Egwene is thinking. She sees a group of Shanjan soldiers right here. At least 50 of them.
Along with a couple Damane and their handlers.
And finally, a woman reclining on a palanquin carried by 8 muscular, bare-chested men.
Okay, this word.
Palanquin?
You're saying it wrong.
Is it palanquin?
It's palanquin.
Really? I've never said palanquin.
Because it came up earlier in the podcast, and I was like, I don't really know this word that well. And then I was listening to, I believe, Dungeons and Daddies, and it got mentioned just offhandedly. And I was like,
Palanquin.
is that
Wow.
how you would say it? And I looked it up then and went, yeah, no, it's a palanquin.
It's a word I've never heard, although since I've listened to the audiobook of this, I probably did hear it. Maybe they pronounced it wrong too, because it didn't catch my attention that I've been saying it wrong.
It's palanquin.
I've said this word for years because I've read fantasy, and that's where it usually is included in fantasy novels. A palanquin. Oh, that feels hard.
But
Okay.
you learn.
By 8 muscular Arnold Schwarzeneggers.
Well, I mean, they're strong, they're bare-chested. We don't know anything about what they look like beyond that. They don't have to look like Terminators.
It could be The Rock.
Sure, why not?
Yeah.
It could be a mixture of the two.
But the woman who's resting on the palanquin is someone who clearly has an air of being important.
What gave it away? Was it the palanquin?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
I don't know of anyone who's been on a palanquin who doesn't
See?
give an arrow.
So important.
Important.
I'm so important. I'm not on a palanquin. I'm on a palanquin.
Yes, I'm not that important. I just get carried around by 8 bare-chested men on this walking chair for no reason.
That's right. Egwene, she's like, what the heck? And she asks Liandrin if she knows these people, and Liandrin doesn't answer. Instead, she addresses this fancy palanquin woman
Addresses
as
her
the
as
High Lady Suroth.
Remember the name.
She responds, "Yes, I am the High Lady Suroth, and you must be Liandrin?" "Yes, I am." So they clearly were given each other's names and told to meet here. We can deduce this, okay? From the quick interchange that goes on between them, we learn a few things. We learn Surath knows Liandrin is Aes Sedai, but doesn't care about that. Now that's interesting, since the Shan-Chan have an issue with Aes Sedai.
Anyone who could channel, seemingly.
Her orders, though, require her to deal with Liandrin anyways. What else do we learn?
That whatever's going on here,
Whatever this matter.
she wants to take care of it quickly. They don't want to be discovered by one of the other patrols and get back to Falme.
So she's from Falme. I say Falme. Some say
You say
Falme.
Falme?
The worst ones say Falme.
I read it as Falme.
Oh, you're one of the worst
I
ones?
don't think that's correct. I know it's not correct, but when I read it, I read Falme, not
I'm pretty sure
to
the
say
audiobook said Falme, but that's just a reference.
I'm going to try and avoid ever saying the name of the city as best I can.
Now, she wants to return to Falme before Turok notices she's gone, but every time I see that now, I see Tuvok from Star Trek. Come on. Star Trek Voyager? Tuvok?
I hear ya.
I want it to be Tuvok.
But it's not. It's Turok.
I know, but I want it to be Tuvok. And I want the character to be Tuvok. That would be so cool.
But nope, that's not what this is.
Oh, Trekkies unite, man. Okay. Liandrin references Egwene and Nynaeve telling Surath these were the ones she was told of. Okay, so there's something going on there.
And then she gestures to
points,
Elayne.
Yeah, and says she is the daughter heir of Andor. Doesn't
Cool,
say
it's a
anything about
bonus.
Min. Min's a +1.
But she's a +1 that most people want to have.
The two women with the lightning on their dresses that were in the
Ka-chow.
party, they're holding coils of silvery metal in their hands, and they come forward now. None of them looks tense or aggressive, but Egwene, she's like, son, this is hinky. What's, Liandrin, who are these people? And then everything goes sideways.
Very fast.
Yes. It starts with a soldier who grabs Min and Elayne from behind, grabs them roughly. And then a man yells a curse, a woman or two scream, wind blows through like a gale, the horses go crazy. And then one of the women reaches out and fastens something around Egwene's neck. Snick. And Egwene, she grabs at it.
It's smooth metal, seemingly all in one piece. No way to find a clasp that just snicked
She's
shut,
like,
as you
what
said.
the heck? And she looks, and there's a woman who has a chain from this thing to her own wrist where there's a bracelet, and she hauls off and punches her right in the face.
Well, rather, Egwene hauls off and punches that woman in the face.
Yes.
Pronouns. We just gotta
Pronouns are important.
not be a mess here.
Yeah, thank you. Your mother does that horribly, and I usually chastise her for it. No, not chastise. Tease her mercilessly is the better term.
But Egwene punches the lightning woman in the face,
And then goes
Egwene
down.
drops down to the ground in
Feeling
pain.
like someone punched her in the face twice as hard as anything she could ever
At least.
dish out. Yeah. Wow. So Egwene is down for the count. Now, once she finds, again, this is a Egwene point of view chapter, so
we
got
see
nothing else
the
for a
other
little
things
while.
that are happening here.
When Egwene's head stops ringing, she can see things have calmed down.
Nynaeve and Elayne
They're
are
gone. Yeah. Sees them not at all. Also, some of the soldiers are missing. And one of the pairs of women who were, connected with these chain, necklace, bracelet things.
Now, Min, she's down on her hands and knees trying to pull herself together, clearly gotten a hit or two that she's recovering from, but the soldier who grabbed her is also standing nearby bloodied.
He's bloodied.
Min clearly got a couple
something
shots
in.
in,
Yep.
maybe even
Yep.
like one of her knives.
Right. Egwene can see the two other women connected by a silver cord, neck to wrist. They're still there, and looking just like Egwene. And Egwene, well, she's connected still to the woman she punched. Now that woman, she's got a bruise around her left eye, so
Good
well
job,
done.
Egwene.
Yep, got that shot in. And she turns her attention back to Egwene and explains, this is Egwene's first lesson. And what is that lesson? What does she tell her?
That she is now Damane, a leashed one. And that this woman here, Rena, is
Rena? Really?
Are you going to say Rena? Because it's
Always
two
said
N's?
Rena. Yeah.
You're probably more right.
I think we should go with Rena. I don't know how you get Rena from
I'm going to go with Rihanna.
No! That's even worse. Rena. Anyways, what is Rena?
A soldom.
Really? That's how you... No, I'm kidding. That's how you pronounce that one.
I cannot roll my eyes any more than I currently am,
Oh, yeah.
which means more or less a holder of the leash.
When they are joined, whatever the Soldum feels, the Damane feels twice over.
Even death.
No, that one, I went, really?
Yes.
How can you feel
You
death
feel
twice
death
over?
twice over.
We kill you twice!
Well, the point is, it's more painful death. Longer death.
So, because of that, you must always protect your Soldom. In other words, protect me. Always protect me. So, what she felt when punching, that double punch, or twice as hard punch, so that's enough punishment for your mistake.
This time.
That's right. Egwene is like, what?
Oh, what?
She refuses to accept what Rena has said. She turns to Liandrin, demanding to know, why are you letting this happen? Because Liandrin's just standing there. And then she gets her first true punishment.
The way this is described, this hurts a lot.
And
Like,
you read it
I
literally.
have experience with some of this type of
but
stuff.
read
and
it totally literally.
Just hurts.
And I'm like, holy crap. Because it says her skin starts burning and as if she was prickled from rolling and stinging nettles. But every inch of her body. Every inch. I mean, we have some very sensitive inches.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. It's cringy. Oh, man.
It hurts.
She is in just
agony.
Yeah. And Rena says, this is a lesson to reinforce that you must always do as you're told. And now I want your name. Now, Egwene, she's like, nah, Egwene.
She gives her name and
yeah.
the pain
and then the pain
stops.
just goes away. And that reinforces the lesson. So much so that Rena then pats her on the head, like, good girl. Just like a pat, good girl. And says, Egwene, that's
It's
a good name.
very demeaning and very unsettling, but effective.
But, well, what's Egwene's reaction? She wants to
hit
strike
her
out again. But, wisdom prevails. She recognizes, and actually, Rena, it's like she can read her mind there. She reminds her, whatever you do to me, you'll feel double, so you might not want to. And yep, Egwene reins it in. She just instead turns to Min and asks, are you all right?
And Min's fine. I mean, she doesn't look great,
Yeah, don't look great.
but she'll be fine.
She'll live. Then they see lightning off in the distance, striking amongst the trees, and Egwene, she smiles. Because she realizes that's got to be Nynaeve and Elayne still out there somewhere.
I mean, who else would be dumb enough to throw lightning in a forest?
And if anyone
No, I'm
can
kidding.
get them
It's
out of
pretty
this...
awesome.
Yeah. If anyone... I mean, she's seen... Well, she didn't maybe know. No, she wasn't there when
she wasn't there for...
No, she was
but
there.
she didn't know necessarily that
We're
that
flashing
was them
back
doing
to the
that.
rescue from the White Cloaks. And yeah, Nynaeve did lightning back then, but there's a little more to this. So,
And as far as Egwene knew, that was all Moraine.
and actually, as far as Egwene knows, this lightning has nothing to do with Nynaeve or Elayne doing it.
They
It just means,
it means
they're
they're
out
on the
there
run,
and
they're
people
free.
are trying to get them. Yeah. But she's like, if they may still rescue us. They're free. We have a chance. Hope is not gone. Now, Suroth and Liandrin, they have some final words. They're not happy with how this is played out. This was supposed to be a smooth transaction. Here we are. Here they are. Tick 'em. And that's not how this has gone. And they're pointing fingers. I mean, Suroth is saying, you have royally messed this up. I'm supposed to take 2 new Damane with me. You do. Maybe I should take you.
That would be 2.
At which point Rena warns that Liandrin has embraced the source.
Yeah.
Now, interesting to note there. Rena could tell Liandrin is embracing the source.
Exactly why and what that means,
Because
we'll get to
normally,
eventually.
people can't tell.
But we know other
Those who
people
can channel can
at
tell.
least to a certain extent. That was a whole thing that Egwene and Elayne loved seeing about each other.
Right. Now, Rena can see.
Now, what does that actually mean? We'll get to that later.
Nothing comes of this threat moment.
No, there's just a lot more veiled threats.
Yes. So Suroth and Liandrin, we hear through this yapping exchange, they both serve the same master. And they both fear the same master. And that's what's holding them in check here.
Probably
they have
for
orders.
good reason.
Suroth looks forward to when all Marath Damane are
Really?
leashed. What do you say, Marath Damane?
Mareth?
Mareth Damane.
Mareth Damani.
That could be. I don't remember how that one said.
I think that one is one that I got from audiobook, but I don't remember. I really don't.
I like
just
Marath Damani, but it could be Mareth Damani.
I just look at the
Anyways,
apostrophe
it's
for
old
where to
tongue.
put upon-
It's fake old tongue.
Yeah,
because
so we
there's
get
no
to
real old tongue.
ultimately all of you get to decide however you want to say any of these words. We have to have this conversation a little bit so that even if we
will
decide
agree.
to say it differently, we both understand what the other one is saying.
Anyway, she looks forward to when all of this M-word people are leashed. And perhaps she will be the one to put the collar around Liandrin's throat. Oh, isn't that lovely?
And Liandrin instead looks forward to making Surath kneel and like kiss her feet and stuff.
Yep, exactly. There's a lot of love between the two of them. Yeah, a lot of love. Just feeling it. Surath, she's not feeling it. She's tired of all this, so she recalls all those soldiers that are chasing after Nynaeve and Elayne. Give it up. And Liandrin, she reacts sharply. Nynaeve must be taken back across the Aerith Ocean.
Along
You
with
have
Egwene.
to take her with Egwene when you leave. That was the command. As in what they received from their master.
And Surath is just like, man, I mean, they can't be free that long.
we'll
We'll
get
catch
'em.
them, and then we'll sail away, and it'll all be good.
Come sail away, come sail away,
Come sail away with me. Copyright. Who's that?
Styx,
Correct.
who you also saw in concert.
I did see that one as well.
Yeah, it was the last... No, it's
was
the
not-
next episode. We've recorded episodes out of order, so in the next episode, you'll also hear he's been to concert with friggin' Taylor Swift. But now you'll laugh when you hear it then, because you heard my opinion. At which time he did not do cocaine, just to be clear.
I haven't done cocaine, period.
Right,
I've
exactly.
seen it. I
so
haven't
I said
done it.
you have not done cocaine
That was
at a
not
Taylor
when
Swift
I saw
concert.
it, but I've never done it. And nor do I plan to ever do it.
Thank you. Glad to hear that. Wow, did we go off the rail there for a moment? Okay.
Your fault.
I sailed away. I totally sailed away. Come, sail away with me.
Anyways, Surath and company, they're leaving, and Surath goes, Liandrin, you gotta go too.
Yep.
Because we're in cahoots. We don't like each other, but we're in cahoots.
And if you stick around, one of these random patrols that I'm not directly controlling may wander along. They're looking for channelers. They may catch you then.
And there's
I can't
nothing I
help
can
ya.
do if you've got a collar on you.
So, Liandrin, out she goes. She right back through the Waygate. She's heading back, we imagine, to Tarvalon. Now, as soon as she's gone, the soldier whom Min cut asks for permission to dispose of her. What do you think dispose of her means?
Killer.
Absolutely. Egwene, she pleads for Min's life, despite then being punished through the collar by Rena again. But Surath, she intervenes. Says, no, hang on. Talks to Egwene. Says, will you work hard and not challenge anything you're asked to do if Min is safe? If I spare her and bring her along? And Egwene's like, yes, whatever it takes. All right.
Well,
Min is fine.
the wheel weaves as the wheel wills.
So they all get on horses. They're heading back to Falme now.
Mm-hmm.
Along the way, unfortunately, Egwene gets another lesson. Because she spoke out. She pled for Min's life. No, you don't have the right to speak out.
You don't speak when spoken to. You speak
No, you speak when
asked.
spoken
no,
to.
you speak specifically when asked to speak when you've been spoken. It's not enough to speak when spoken to. You have to be asked to be
But
speaking.
you definitely don't raise your own questions.
Not
or
even
interests.
a little.
You don't challenge anything. So as she's riding along, she feels blows all over her body.
Ow.
As
ow,
if she's being
ow,
switched.
ow.
And despite the pain and the blows, there's no marks. It's like it's all nerve stimuli with
Fun
the power.
fact, that's something we can actually do. It's just really, really terrible. Don't do it.
Yeah, don't.
I mean, like, I can't personally do it. It requires a lot more training and equipment. But don't do that.
Eventually, the punishment ends. And as they continue to ride, there's some conversation between Rena and Egwene, most of which Min is close enough to hear. And from this, we learn when a Damane is punished, it's always the Damane's fault. I mean, that's just the way it is. Even if she doesn't know what she did wrong, it's still her fault. Damane, they're like furniture, or even better, like tools. They are to be used, and they are to always be ready to be used, and they are to have no desires of their own. They just exist to be what is needed.
Now, the High Lady Surath, she is of the blood.
This is the first time we hear something about this. Well, no,
It was
isn't.
mentioned
It's the
previously.
first time these people hear something about this, Min
Yes.
and Egwene.
But we knew very minimally the blood being some higher status.
Did we learn
in
that from
Shan
Fane?
Chan.
Or did we learn it even earlier than that? We learned it with Baal Doman, that bit.
I don't remember which
That's
one
where
it
we
was,
learned
but I
it.
believe.
When he
We've
was
seen
taken...
Shan-Chan a couple times from a couple of people.
Because Doman was taken to the High Lord Turok.
So was Faye.
Yeah, but before.
Yeah.
Doman was earlier. I think
Yeah,
that's
he
where we
was.
first hear about the blood.
Point is, Suroth is of the blood, and it is not of Rena or anyone else here to question anything they do. So even though Rena has no idea what they were talking about with this master, she and Liandrin are both there, and we don't question.
That's right. It's above us. We're below it. It's not our business. Now, Damane, we learned they're too valuable to be killed.
Which is crazy because they're furniture or tools, but also too valuable.
Yes. But they can be punished. And they can even be punished physically if necessary, because the things that they are valuable for have nothing to do with their hands, with their tongue, with their feet.
They can be hobbled. They don't need anything.
Things can be removed. They don't need to talk. And in fact, it's better if they don't talk.
I have feelings, but I'm going to save it till after the end of this list.
All right. But all of that being mentioned is a clear threat to Egwene.
Yes.
You need to get in line, because here's what can happen to you if you fight too long.
Mm-hmm.
The Shan-Chan have Damane. We get important history here, because it's better than having women who can use the power roaming free and causing harm.
Uh-huh.
And this goes all the way back to the time when Luthair, Arthur Hawkwing's son, first led armies across the Aerith Ocean and confronted the armies of the night, whatever those were, where he found many who called themselves Aes Sedai and using the one power in battle.
Crazy.
These women also fought amongst themselves, and eventually one of them came to Luthair with this idea and had this thing called an Adam, a collar, which you could put on an Aes Sedai, and it would force them to work for you.
Where do you put the emphasis on that for you?
Adam.
Weird.
Where do you put it?
Adam.
It could be an Adam. I've always said Adam. Again, it's in our head. So if you have one person who can use...
Point is, you can put the collar of the Adam on someone who can channel, and then the other person can put it on their wrist and control them, more or less.
That's right. This is what happens. And
not everyone can be the one who is controlling, but there are plenty of people who can.
And unfortunately, anyone who can channel can be controlled this way. So even this person who came up with the idea, Deanne, I don't know if that's the right pronunciation, she ends up being one of the ones wearing a collar eventually, too. So bringing this great new invention to Luthair did not do her any favors. She became a leashed one.
Yeah.
Now, it's ever since then, all the women who can channel are leashed where they're from. And they serve the emperor or the empress, whichever there happens to be in charge. Any man who can channel, he's just killed.
Killed on sight.
Because they go mad. Everybody knows that. Now, only women can wear the bracelet as Soldam and direct the Damane.
A man who puts it on usually doesn't feel anything.
Nothing at all. Occasionally, a man puts it on and both the Damane and the man die screaming.
Yay!
Nobody really knows why or what that means.
And they don't know if it will happen until a man tries to put it on.
And nobody would risk that except the Empress. For fun, occasionally, to keep her nobles in line,
she's
perhaps.
like, hey, you, Mr. High
Your
Lord.
Turn. Put that on.
Put it on.
Let's see
We'll
what
see what
happens.
happens.
And of course, she owns all Damane, so it doesn't matter if she loses one or two once in a while, because they're all hers.
Now, this is where I want to take a moment and just say this is a cultural aspect that is a messed up slavery, and it's not okay. I will at times talk about like cool aspects of this. I don't endorse this at all.
No.
It is terrible.
Scummy underbelly
And there
of
is
Wheel of
horrible
Time.
treatment here. That being said, if at any time further on I talk about cool aspects of the Damane system or whatever, I'm not endorsing it at all.
It's just in-world, in that culture, understanding what benefits come about. That's all he means.
Slavery's bad. Let's not do that.
Yep.
Cool.
At this point, Rena decides to do a little training with Egwene as they're riding along. Asks her to use the one power on... You see that tree way over there in the distance? Yeah, do something to that. And Egwene feels a desire to do it. But she resists it. And after a moment says... I cannot. The tree is too far. Alas, we learn here, and Egwene learns here, that a Soldam can sense not only what a Damane does with the power, but even what she doesn't do.
So she knows that Egwene didn't even try.
Nope, not at all. So she punishes her, and Egwene starts to feel the switching again. This time, while in pain, Egwene reaches for Sidar to strike back at Rena, but Rena consents she's doing that, so now the punishment goes up a whole nother notch. And not only is she feeling switched, she's feeling like her skin is being scalded with boiling hot water. Min, she tries to intervene, and the other Domani is ordered to punish Min. So now we've got both Egwene and Min down on the ground, rolling in pain. And this just goes on and on and on for a few minutes. And then Rena decides the lesson is done. And so everything stops for both of them. Rena, she's not even upset at Egwene. She's like, this is expected. This is normal. And in fact, it's good that you are strong-willed. You're resisting. And she says the best Damane are those who must be shaped and molded in this way.
It's like a horse.
And again, like patting her on the head, you will be one of the best. Yeah. Strong-spirited, once broken, become the most powerful.
And on that sad, somber, weird note, we jump perspectives a little here.
Yep. For the final part of the chapter, we're shifting POV to Nynaeve. She has just escaped from the soldiers, and we're reminded Nynaeve is a quick learner.
She sees something, and assuming she can grasp the power, she can do it.
So the Damane were flinging lightning bolts and stuff at her, and Nynaeve flung them right back. So, yeah, perhaps those lightning bolts and stuff and fireballs, that Egwene had seen, they may have been Nynaeve because she picked it right up and was using it.
And there's a whole mess here. I mean, Nynaeve is shocked, and Elayne as well here, as they're just sitting going... I mean, Elaine's not even here as we see this yet. But they're both got to be in this position. Going, they were told Aes Sedai don't use the power as a weapon. That's like a hard and fast rule. Unless in the defense of your own life. This wasn't.
Or against dark friends.
But this wasn't. And clearly, they're running from power. Power that Nynaeve saw how to duplicate.
Yeah.
Something is crazy here.
Yes. But with the chase over... things have changed for Nynaeve. She can't feel the source anymore. While she was being chased, she was furious over what had happened, and she had so much power. She felt like she could do anything. But after they gave up on her, and she's just all alone here now she's worried.
She got nothing now.
All her worry for Egwene, Elayne, and Min, it overcomes her anger. The anger fizzles out, and yeah, she can't touch the source at all.
She been blocked.
And then Elayne finds her, making her practically jump out of her skin.
But it's a good startling.
That's right, and they hug in relief. They're confident, however, the other two did not escape. Elayne says in the initial chaos, she saw Min knocked down, and she saw a woman put something around Egwene's neck. So they didn't get away. And Egwene actually only escaped because Min cut the hand of the one who had grabbed Elayne. So instead of Min freeing herself, she freed Elayne.
Mm-hmm. Now, I like to think that Min did one of two things here, just because it would be really badass, and that's one, either severed enough stuff that the hand is just limp, or two, stabbed a dagger straight through a palm.
That's where you went with your speculation. That's funny, because my speculation goes to that she intentionally freed Elayne, thinking Elayne can channel, and we have a better shot if she's free than if I am. Which would be very smart, but against the normal impulse. You fight for your own freedom first. But it made more sense to free Elayne. So I think Min is that sharp and badass that she frees Elayne.
Possibly sharp and badass, and possibly also telling about her character that she's less of a save myself person and more a save the people I care about person.
See, those kind of people are pretty rare. I mean, we have some in the military who are like that because they're drilled and trained to be that, because that's overriding the natural impulse.
Self-preservation is pretty strong.
Yeah.
Anyway.
These guys, they're not in the army, so this would be rare. All right, so fine. They are probably not free. So what do? Well, we can follow them. So they heard already that they're going to be taken to Falme. We'll have to follow to Falme and figure out how to free them. No idea how yet, but we'll have to try. And we're going to have to be really careful.
Mm-hmm. Because clearly these people can channel.
And we know from the White Tower that Aes Sedai channelers can sense others who can channel. these people may have the same ability.
And if they can, there's a good chance that they'll sense Nynaeve. Just sense her.
So caution needs to be in place. Elayne raises a troubling question. What Liandrin said about Rand being in danger, was it all lies? Because Aes Sedai don't lie. And Nynaeve, well, she doesn't know what to say. For while she remembers the oaths that prevent an Aes Sedai from lying, she also remembers the truth that an Aes Sedai says may not be the truth you think you hear.
And I just imagine hearing the words may, might,
Right.
just flickering in the head, and it's like
Everything Liandrin has said could be true from a certain point of view.
But it also could be utter and complete bull.
So we don't know. What Nynaeve says out loud is, I'm sure Rand is safe, warming his feet by a fire back in Faldar already, having recaptured the horn and the dagger, and all is good.
Nope.
With that, they ride off toward Falme, which is quite a ways off still. And Nynaeve is left to puzzle why Liandrin did this to them. And especially to Egwene and Nynaeve, that they were the ones that were targeted. What is going on? And that's the end of the chapter. That is the end of this episode. Although I will ask, is there anything in particular you want to comment on or highlight beyond what we've talked about already?
I mean, I feel like if we hadn't already said it, this would be the place to say Liandrin's a dark friend.
Oh, yeah.
We know that.
She's bad. And dark friend means Black Aja.
They're real.
This is our
She's one of them.
first confirmed Black Aja right here.
And if there was there were plenty of signs and things that make you think it earlier, but this is
Slam dunk, absolute.
You don't do
no
something
way
like this if that isn't. Anyway.
All right. We are going to soon be going into the spoiler room section to spoil a couple of things. But before we head that way, we want to remind all of you, thank you for being with us. Please spread the word if you're enjoying what you're hearing. Give us a rating, a review. Go on to Apple. Click that 5-star button. Just help people know, this is a podcast you might want to listen to. It's kind of fun.
And if you want to interact with us in one way, shape, or form, maybe we got something wrong, maybe you just want to continue the conversation, you can reach out to us at our email, FantasyForTheAges@gmail.com, or our social medias. We're most active on Twitter, but you can find our drink recipes on Instagram and occasionally see us on that archaic platform, Facebook.
Yes. Discord is a place where you can have real interactions and conversations with us. We got a number of people now who've joined our Discord server, and that's just going to keep growing. Bunches of people who enjoy all sorts of fantasy fiction, whether Wheel of Time or other things.
And if you really enjoy what we're doing and you want to support us in a further, maybe even financial way, or get a couple of benefits that you can by doing so, please go check out our Patreon page.
That's right. Links for all of these things are included in the show notes. Patreon in particular is how you can get the opportunity to join us on Discord during live recordings. Just $1 a month opens that benefit for you. You heard Jordo was with us here today. You get to text chat all through, telling us what you're thinking, what we're getting wrong, asking questions that we'll incorporate into what we talk about, which is fantastic. But there are other benefits too. Depending on what tier you support us at. We're even now working out merchandise, which we're right in the beginning stages, but we're looking to be able to provide some things for our patrons and then just let you have other things you can buy to say, hey, this is something I want because I like Fantasy for the Ages.
So if that's of interest to you, stay tuned in that regard.
That's right. All right, that's all we have with the regular content. Again, if you're not wanting something spoiled, bail. Bail now.
So now we can enter
the spoiler room. All right, rock, paper, scissors.
I got it.
Twice. Took twice, but he won.
I think that on the spreadsheet, I'm winning by a lot.
What do you want to spoil this time, my son?
I'm going to spoil something that isn't really a spoil initially. It will lead into a spoil, but it's something that I clearly missed on my first read, partially because there was a little bit of time between me reading the third book and the fourth, so by the time I got back to something, had forgotten completely.
Yeah, okay.
So the High Lady Suroth, we're gonna see her again.
Yeah,
we're gonna see her plenty again. We know already here she's a dark friend. So I didn't even remember this character, let alone knew she was a dark friend when we later see her. And this is the one that it gets worked out and finagled that Cimaraj impersonates and takes off Rand's hand. We know she's bad from here, and I didn't realize it. There's a whole lot of perspective on this that is really good to remember. She's bad. She is bad. She's going to be then impersonated by a Forsaken to blow off Rand's hand in an attempt that's so much more. But just do not forget, if you are a first-time reader, but if you're a first-time reader, you're probably not here. And if you're not a first-time reader, who else is with me that you didn't remember the High Lady Suroth and you didn't remember she was bad? Because come on, I can't be the only one who was just like, who is this again?
The one I want to touch on is simply emphasizing something we didn't learn at first. We learn not too much later, though. It's a few chapters down the road here, but very significant. Again, I emphasize it. Rena could tell that Liandrin was channeling. Only someone who can channel can tell someone is channeling. So, now, Rena couldn't tell because of the chain that when her Damani is channeling. Okay, that's fine, but
that's bull.
How can she tell other people? No, the whole thing that she can do anything with the power is because she can channel.
Now, she can't necessarily channel, but she has the ability to learn
and
to
that's
channel.
The whole thing. Damane are the ones who would naturally exhibit the ability
Born
to
with
channel.
the spark.
Right. All the rest of them, the Soldam, are the ones who could learn to channel. They have the ability, but it wouldn't have just naturally presented. They were in no danger, and if nobody tested them or anything, they would have gone through their life perfectly normal. This is a huge thing that the Shan-Chan don't realize, but they knew once upon a time.
Yeah.
Way back in the beginning, they knew that women who channel are the ones who can control this, and somehow intentionally repressed that knowledge. They erased it. And we don't get that story of how that was done, but it had to have been very early, and they just extinguished the knowledge that Soldam are women who can learn to channel.
Yep.
And that's gonna be big as we move forward here.
Indeed it will.
One of the biggest things then is how it plays into Tuon later. But that would be a second spoil, so I won't go any further. I'll leave that for another time. All right, you've spoiled. I've spoiled.
We both
I think we're
spoiled.
done.
I'm good.
All right, we'll talk to you next time.